Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale, did you know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today.
Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine.
Did you know?
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities.
And this is what they had to say.
Once we change and improve the mindset around what Black wealth is and can be and show success along the journey, the longer term impacts will be huge. This is something that once we get there and at various places along the journey, we'll see that this is something that we could have done or could have begun a long time ago and simply managed to not yet find the trail. But once we do find the pathway, we'll be able to create something that no one will be able to take away from us, from our families or our communities. And like I say, the impact will be huge. So we can either talk about it or get on with the task. My suggestion is that we hunker down, cinch up our belts, and get on.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities.
And this is what they had to say.
Black generational wealth. For a long time, that's been a dream that needs to see reality. For hundreds of years, Black people have been in the United States and have suffered for it. We built this country, but have not yet really seen the dream come alive and what that means for Black people and people of color. This is going to take some time and some work and a lot of sacrifice, but people of color have always done that, and so it won't be any different. You don't need to do it alone, and you don't need to do it alone, because this is a community work project. It's going to take some rigor. It'll take a change in mindset for individuals and the community and the nation at large. This won't be simple, but that's okay. Nothing that's good or worthwhile is ever really simple.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
I'm Paul Pearson, host of Star Time, and this is my real voice. Honest. You're hearing it on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Should have told her you were sorry.
Hi, I'm Paul Pearson of Star Time. Did you know that back in the 9th century, Rainier Avenue Radio was the host of the first annual Gregorian chant-off? Man, that was tight. Well, times have changed and so have we. Now you can hear all the great Rainier Avenue Radio shows on our mobile app for Android and iPhone. It's completely free on the Google Play Store and the iPhone App Store. The Rainier Avenue Radio app.
Celebrate Black History Month at the Call to Conscience Black History Month Museum, formerly Columbia City Theater, 4916 Rainier Avenue South. Call to Conscience Black History Month Museum features exhibits and installations. It's a guided tour. Installations include the Seattle Black Panther Party, the Black Heritage Society of Washington, the Rainier Cinema Black Movie Posters Collection, the Hartsfield Family Enslaved Quilt Collection, Revere XR, Negro League Baseball's Seattle Steelheads, NAACP Washington, Alaska, and Oregon, Giselle's Famous Chicken, Nasty Mix Records, Sir Mix-a-Lot, South Seattle Emerald, the Museum of History and Industry, Community Keepsakes and Memorabilia, the Total Experience Gospel Choir and Pat Wright, the Black Prisoners Caucus, a display from the Tacoma Buffalo Soldiers Museum. Tuesdays through Sundays from 11 a.m. 7 p.m. There will be no other location where you can celebrate the achievements and the achievers of the Pacific Northwest and Seattle while recognizing the Black excellence that shines today. For more information, visit RainierAvenueRadio.world or call 206-290-9685.
You're listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world. Check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram, RainierAvenueRadio.world, and on Twitter at Rainier Ave Radio.
Join Rainier Avenue Radio from 5 to midnight for Sunday evening sound sessions. Jazz from the cabinets from Big Papa.
That's right. It's time once again. Jazz from the cabinets.
Sergio LaCour's Love Line.
It's Sergio's Love Lines with Sergio LaCour. Go to the phone line. Tell her who we talking to.
Sage Prince, Just My Opinion.
This is Sage, and that's just about going to do it for the first half of Just My Opinion.
K-Fox Night Beat with Nasty Nets Rodriguez.
The beat of the Fox. K-Fox Night Beat, Nasty Nets.
You know what? You're going to listen from 5 to midnight. Just turn it on and don't stop. DJ Alibaba, the underground surround sound. Start Time Paul Pincher.
Tuning in. My name is Paul Pearson.
Sunday evening sound sessions on Rainier Avenue Radio. Trust me, you'll be listening the entire time from 5 to midnight. Sunday evening, your sound session on Rainier Avenue Radio. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities, and this is what they had to say.
Generational wealth is incredibly difficult to accrue. My mom likes to joke that we come from a long line of people who are bad at money. She always talks about wanting to buy a house so that she has something to leave her kids. I got really sick when I was a kid, and all our money went towards that. I had to leave college because I couldn't afford my next year's tuition, medical bills, and life. It's all so difficult. And then you think about wanting to leave something behind for your kids. Well, how can you leave something behind for your kids when every day you're trying to make sure that your kids have joy and happiness and health and fulfillment today? Every day I'm really concerned about if I'll be able to keep living and making art in this city for myself.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Do you have an idea for a community project in your neighborhood? You could be eligible for up to $50,000 in funding through the City of Seattle's Neighborhood Matching Fund. Grants are awarded to grassroots projects that build stronger communities, with an emphasis on projects led by impacting Black, Indigenous, and people of color BIPOC communities. To learn more about the Neighborhood Matching Fund or to see if your project meets the criteria, visit seattle.gov/neighborhoods/NMF.
Hi, I'm Paul Pearson of StarTime. Did you know that back in the 1930s, Rainier Avenue Radio operated out of a supply closet in the Columbia City Sea First Bank? Well, times have changed and so have we. Now you can hear all the great Rainier Avenue Radio shows on our mobile app for Android and iPhone. It's completely free on the Google Play Store and the iPhone App Store. The Rainier Avenue Radio app.
Rainier Avenue Radio. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Hey Seattle, here are some storage tips to love food, stop waste. Onions make potatoes sprout faster. Keep onions away from potatoes. Ripe bananas give off a gas that makes the fruit around them ripen faster. Store bananas away from other fruits. 40% of food in the U.S. goes uneaten. Save money. Save food. Save the planet. Visit Seattle Public Utilities for more tips.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities, and this is what they had to
How
say.
does generational wealth play into my family, my family's history, my children? What am I doing for my children to perhaps build them more wealth? I think it goes both ways, because for many immigrant families who are laboring constantly to live, your children are raised a certain way. Your children adopt certain values, which then will become their life and how they live it. When I see folks that perhaps have copious generational wealth, I see a whole different mindset, different ways of treating people. And I see it in my own children too. I feel like a lot of those values, in a lot of ways, begin to get lost when you don't have to work so hard to
This
live.
campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Hey, Buford, why are you kicking that old CD player?
Because I can't hear the radio.
Can't hear the radio? Let me help you.
Hey, you two, quit beating up that outdated audio equipment. You can't hear the radio on a CD player.
You can.
No, you can't, you adorable simpletons. But you can hear some great radio on the Rainier Avenue Radio app. It's brand new, it's free, and it's available for Android and iPhone. In fact, you can download the Rainier Avenue Radio app right now from the Google Play Store or the iPhone App Store.
I'm going to go give me a smartphone right now.
I'm just going to put a graduation cap on my rotary phone.
You two have very significant personal issues. Get the Rainier Avenue Radio.world app today.
RainierAvenueRadio.world is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at RainierAvenueRadio.world. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn apps.
This is an important message about coronavirus. With coronavirus still spreading, those who are most likely to get seriously ill must take extra precautions. You are at a higher risk for getting seriously ill if you are over 65 or if you have any serious underlying medical conditions, like heart disease, chronic lung disease, like asthma, diabetes, or if you're undergoing cancer treatment. If you're at a higher risk for getting seriously ill, it's essential you take extra care to protect yourself. Stay home, avoid close contact with others, wash your hands frequently with soap and water for 20 seconds, disinfect frequently touched objects like doorknobs and light switches. The choices you make are critical, and their impact is significant.
How would COVID vaccines work in your body? Here are 3 things to know. Number 1, a vaccine is basically a training session for the immune system. Vaccines teach the immune system to look for the key features of a virus. So when a virus does show up, it's ready to fight it off. Number 2, a vaccine gives your body a plan to recognize the virus. Then your immune system starts preparing by making antibodies, or fighter cells, that stay in your blood as protection in case the virus tries to invade. What this means is you get immunity against the disease without having to get sick first. Number 3, when enough people's bodies know how to fight off a virus, it has nowhere to go. That slows the spread. When people get a vaccine, we're able to stop the spread quicker and get closer to ending the pandemic. To learn more, go to covidvaccinewa.org. A message from the state of Washington.
This is Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth.
What is generational wealth? We asked our communities.
And this is what they had to
You
say.
see lots of people who've gotten rich quickly and gotten poor just as quickly and left nothing to their families and or the community. That's a big chunk of the piece that needs to change. We need to see people making their investment in their families and in themselves and in the community. We want to build all 3 of those elements. We want to establish long-lasting family and community wealth, not just people who've gotten rich and squandered it. Those who have wealth will be opposed to our breaking the status quo. So this will be a struggle. All those folks are used to how things have been for hundreds of years, and that's the piece that needs to change. And they need to be able to stand by.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone.
Citizens of America, or citizens of the world, let us begin.
Rainier Avenue Radio. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities.
And this is what they had to say.
Generational wealth to me is wealth that has been accumulated from their ancestors, but their ancestors are usually the ones that aren't the ones that built it, but built off of POC ancestors in my own definition from what I see. Because not many POC people have that type of wealth, as you can see in many people's neighborhoods and communities. It's usually a white person. You can see it in gentrification around us and even in schools nowadays. But generational wealth is basically hard work that isn't really your own hard work.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
This is Mondo Bancaro from Mondo's World. We will be discussing some interesting subjects. Sometimes I might even have some guests. So please listen to my show on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities,
and this is what they had to say.
Generational wealth, it's this idea of like hard work that gets carried on that had been executed from ancestors, and so the generations down the line are a bit more set up already, like in a very favorable position financially to succeed. And it kind of makes me think of like privilege a lot, because when I think about stuff like gentrification or people with privilege or in a more privileged position in like the current society as it is right now, I think of this idea that they probably had this generational wealth.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Different rules apply when it gets this late. You know what I mean? It's like
Whatever gets you through the night.
Hello, I'm an unpaid spokesman for DJ Sotovaci. I'd like to invite you to listen to his free-form music show. It's popular music the way it was never intended to be heard. Whatever gets you through the night, late nights, here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Whatever gets you through the night.
I'm Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not deep frying a turducken in a closed garage, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not meeting Mrs. Jones in that cafe for a chat and nothing else, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
What's going on, world? It's your boy OG Mambo.
And your guy D Money. Join us along with Pint Size Patron and ID Yourself
Here on Fresh Juice at Rainier Avenue Radio.
every Wednesday hump day from 9 to 11 Pacific.
Get exclusive interviews from your favorite artists, all the hottest music, and updates on what we got going on in the world.
That's every Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m. on Seattle's Rainier Avenue Radio.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities,
and this is what they had to say.
For me, generational wealth is passed down knowledge from relatives or any family members, or even like any ancestral people that have come before you, that is, used to help you progress in the times that you're living in. So I think it is very updated. It's very current. It is existing in real time. So any type of knowledge or resources from people who are here living now, being able to provide that information and pass it down from generation to generation is how you maintain the wealth. That's what it means to me.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Create your generational wealth for you and the future of your families.
I'm Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not hearing men compare women to residential real estate, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
1, 2, get down. What's up, big and little homies? This is Masvita Maraire, host of Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, your one-stop shop for Seattle sports. We cover preps, we cover college, we cover pro, we cover it all. Huskies, Mariners, Seahawks, Garfield, South, Roosevelt, Metro, King County. This is where you want to listen to for all the sports that's happening in Seattle. Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Tune in to Real Estate and Money every Tuesday afternoon from 2:30 to 3 here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Join your hosts Violetta Strash with John L. Scott Kent North and Tina Lombard with Guaranteed Rate Affinity. They'll help you navigate the waters of our volatile real estate market and offer you some guidance on how to make your hard-earned money work to make your dreams come true. Learn about current trends, get tips on financial matters, and have fun, interactive discussions about your home inside and out. That's real estate and money.
On Rainier Avenue Radio.world, look for the Change Your Food, Change Your Life show. I'm Dennis Weaver, your good food guide and host, helping you to feel good and look good, and who wouldn't want some of that? All that and more from the Change Your Food, Change Your Life show on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Stories, songs, and get. Begin living the organic good food life, and the rest of your life just may be the best of your life. What's up, baby? To your health.
I'm Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not rehearsing my annual address to shareholders, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
God is Rainier Avenue Radio.world, your favorite community radio station. We're putting out all kind of inputs for you in your community. So come on and listen to us and tune us in. Get on our Facebook, Instagram, and all. As we're doing it right here for you in your community with Rainier Avenue Radio.world. And God is an inspiration of gospel music. Also, we're doing a lot of different things in your community. We give out free food. We give out a lot of things in the community. We do a lot of shows. We do a lot of things on the sports part, and we want you to come on out and tune us in and come to the community, and we do a lot of things in your community. So make sure you go to our website, Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and also go to the God Is website and look us up and see what we do in your community, something maybe you might like. So come on by and check us out from 11 to 2. Free food giveaway.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not explaining to my intern exactly what R&B is, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
My name is Keith. I'm a barber from Tacoma, Washington. When the pandemic hit, it did affect me as a business owner. I had my own personal reasons why I didn't get vaccinated. But I was talking to the doctor, and he was telling me more about what it could do to protect us and our family. I wanted to get back to that once was, right? I do feel safe knowing that I am vaccinated. I just hope what I'm saying is reaching into people's heads to know that this is the best decision for all of us. To learn more, please visit hereforuswa.org.
Dealing with COVID-19 is uncharted territory, and everyone has different challenges. People may feel anxious, down, or overwhelmed. For some, these feelings can lead to changes in sleep patterns, an increased use of alcohol or drugs, or withdrawing from the people around them. If you know someone who's having a hard time coping, you can help by reaching out to Talk and Listen. To learn more about how you can help someone in need, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-TALK. Brought to you by the state of Washington.
Atlantic Street Center has been serving the children, youth, and families of the Seattle King County area since 1910. We partner with families and communities helping successful children and youth through services including counseling, early learning, youth development, domestic violence, and education support for school-aged children. Committed to serving the African American community, Atlantic Street Center provides services and support for all marginalized people. Learn more at AtlanticStreetCenter.org.
Mga kaibigan, ito po si Kuya Bert Kawili.
And this is Miles Salvador from Australia.
And I'm Norb Kawili, also known as Norb.
Gusto niyo po ang latest news and events from the Philippines at yung local Filipino community. Radio
we play Filipino music and interview guests from all around the world.
And I'll keep you updated on the latest Seahawks and sports news.
Kaya always tune in. Feel our radio every Tuesday, 1 to 2 Pacific time on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
And in YouTube and Facebook. Salamat po.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth.
Mr. Dupree.
Generational wealth. We asked our communities.
And this is what they had to
Yes.
say.
Generational wealth to me means to provide and establish wealth for generations to come, whether it be through real estate or through other equitable funding, stocks, bonds, but first of all, I think that general wealth starts with securing property.
That's it.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio App.
Create your generational wealth for you and the future of your families.
Women Empowerment Talk Radio, your roadmap to business success. Tune in every Sunday at 3 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, providing resources and sharing motivational experiences from the everyday entrepreneur. Tune in Women Empowerment Talk Radio every Sunday, 3 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Here with the Rainier Avenue Radio traffic update. You can listen to us in your car 24/7 anytime by downloading the free TuneIn app. Once you do, search Rainier Avenue Radio. And remember, do not curse out your fellow drivers. This has been your Rainier Avenue Radio traffic update.
Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
If you or a family member are 55 or over and need nursing home level care, but want to keep living where you are, check out Providence Elder Place PACE. Our program centers in the Rainier Valley and throughout Seattle and King County, offering healthcare, housing, transportation, social, and recreational activities. There are no copays or deductibles, and it's covered through Medicare and Medicaid. Providence Elder Place PACE specializes in serving those with chronic health conditions, including diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, and dementia. For over 25 years, this program keeps seniors out of nursing homes, assists family members caring for elderly loved ones, and works to keep the most vulnerable members of our community healthy in their homes. Call 206-320-5325. That's 206-320-5325. Or visit providence.org/elderplace.
Welcome to the Fitness Corner. I'm your host, Mark Bryant, and you're going to get a whole total body workout on my show, starting off with a warm-up, aerobics, strength training, cool down, and stretching every Friday from 11:30 to 12 right here on Rainier Avenue Radio.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not busy tearing the roof off the suckers, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Love food? Here are some storage tips to keep it fresh longer. Store cut fruits and vegetables in the fridge. Place in reusable containers. Keep bread in the freezer for longer storage. 40% of food in the U.S. goes uneaten. Save money, save food, save the planet. Visit Seattle Public Utilities for more tips.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities,
and this is what they had to say.
Generational wealth to me is setting up a safety net for the future, not only for yourself, but for the generations to come. To not have the future generations, maybe in your own family, to have to go through the same trials that you had to go through. Maybe if you went through something hard when you were younger, maybe being poor, being middle class, or not having the money to have access to the things that other people around you do. It's setting up that safety net so that not only you, maybe later in your life, but also your kids, their kids, can end up having the luxuries that you would have wanted when you were young.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Create your generational wealth for you and the future of your families.
Rainier Avenue Radio presents All Music, All Day Saturday. Music, all day Saturday.
This is their favorite Bulldog Blue.
Jazz from the Cabinets.
That's right. It's time once again for Jazz from the Cabinets.
Start Time.
Thanks for tuning in. My name is Paul Pierce. This is Start Time.
Saturdays, all music, all day. Reggae hour, K-Fox night.
Looking for the perfect beat? Yeah, it's the beat of the block.
Fresh juice, the money in there.
Myself, Blue Money. Pint size from
Taylor Hart. Sincere, the Northwest Rap Gang.
DJ Medina. Gotcha. Northwest Rap Gang.
Sergio Lacour's Love Line.
It's Sergio's Love Lines with Sergio Lacour. Go to the phone line. Tell them who we talking.
Sea Monster Radio, Mojang. It's your day.
Welcome to Mojang Mondays. This is KZ Music Media. Caller Goddess. Caller Goddess for Mojang Mondays.
Just my God is inspiration all day and all night. Saturdays. Rainier Avenue Radio App.
This is Brenda Charles Edwards, host of Seniors Matter. Join me every week to get information on activities and issues that impact the lives of older adults and their families. That's Seniors Matter every week on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities, and this is what they had to
Generational
say.
wealth, as of right now, it feels very inequitable given the identities that you have versus if you are a person of color or not. To me, for this generation, I'm going to have to work really, really hard for intergenerational wealth to develop, especially with the economic system that Seattle's in right now, more than ever. Having been a Seattleite as well, I hope that we can talk about it more. And glad that this conversation is starting and to consider thinking about it more as a person of color and coming from an immigrant background as well.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.org. Create your generational wealth for you and the future of your families.
Wash your hands, don't touch your face, wipe things down, clean up your space. When you cough and sneeze, do responsibly. If you feel you're getting ill, isolate at home and chill. No, you're not alone. Please pick up your phone and call 206-477-3977. King County 206-477-3977. Public Health 206-477-3977. King County 206-477-3977. Public Community Radio Station will provide you with more information. Say Rainier Avenue Radio. Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not using my GPS to navigate the land of 1,000 dances, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not shouting "Badia" at city council meetings, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities, and this is what they had to say.
Generational wealth is having financial security and not having to worry about it for yourself, your immediate family, and future generations.
It's a very elusive idea to me personally,
Because it's not something in my immediate experience, and it's only something that I'm learning about a little bit more in theory and knowing or trying to know if that's like a real possibility for someone like me.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Create your generational wealth for you and the future of your families.
The beat of the Fox with nastiness is back on K Fox Night Beat.
Yo, what's the deal? It's the legendary Hall of Fame DJ Mixmaster Ice UTFO.
What's up? Who you thought this is? This is Sir Mix-a-Lot.
And this is Terry Lewis.
And I'm Grand Mixer GMS.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Third Degree.
This is JJ Hudson from the High Children family.
Sunday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's K-Fox Night Beat with DJ Nastiness.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music. Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
That's right. Noise.
Peace.
Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Don't forget to log on www.rainieravenueradio.world.
Women are not an homogenous group. We face discrimination differently depending on factors such as ethnicity, age, socioeconomic status, and more.
Rainier Avenue Radio is proud to amplify women's voices.
They are the experts of their own lives, initiating conversations within their community about challenges they face, the solutions they're working on, and the opportunities they see.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 for Women's Voices on Air. We know our challenges. We are the experts of our lives.
We are master multitaskers, prioritizing our family, friends, and our faith above our own needs.
Our needs and voices are too often overlooked.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. for Women's Voices on Air.
We tell our stories in our own way.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not translating the lyrics of Boogie Oogie Oogie for bored Europeans, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Would you like to see when your favorite Rainier Avenue Radio show comes on? Check out our show schedule, updated weekly at rainieravenueradio.world.
Hey, this is Paul Pearson. I've hosted the R&B show Star Time since the very beginning of Rainier Avenue Radio, and after years of featuring tracks from the 50s through the 80s, Star Time now plays R&B and hip-hop from the 1990s as well. A whole half-century of soul, funk, hip-hop, and more on Star Time, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
If you or a family member are 55 or over and need nursing home level care, but want to keep living where you are, check out Providence Elder Place PACE. This program offers healthcare, housing, transportation, and recreational activities. There are no copays or deductibles, and it's covered through Medicare and Medicaid. Providence Elder Place PACE works to keep you healthy and in your home. Call 206-320-5325 or visit providence.org Elder Place. Providence.org Elder Place.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not stopping a Mercer Island street brawl, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Around for a long. Welcome to the coronavirus pandemic.
I'll take coronavirus for 100. Fever, chills, shortness of breath, loss of taste or smell. What is stay at home and isolate?
Correct. Coronavirus for 200. Inability to stay awake, persistent pain or pressure in chest, trouble breathing. What is seek immediate help?
Coronavirus for 500.
Crippling and potentially dead infectious disease eliminated in the United States with vaccination.
What is the polio vaccine? I'll take coronavirus for 700.
The Daily Double! Should I take the coronavirus vaccine?
Wait. Hold up. This is not a game. It's time for serious discussions. We have coronavirus vaccines, but not everyone is comfortable taking them. Here's the facts. Based on what has been proven about vaccines for other diseases, COVID-19 vaccine may help keep you from getting seriously ill, even if you do get the virus. Getting vaccinated also may protect people around, particularly those at greater risk for severe illness from COVID-19. We don't yet have all of the answers. Get informed, talk to your healthcare physician, and make the right decision for you. This is a message supported by the Washington State Department of Health.
You probably have questions about COVID vaccines. Here are some answers about how they're being made.
How are COVID vaccines being produced faster?
Usually, vaccine testing and production are separate steps. But because of the pandemic, vaccines are being developed on parallel tracks. So both steps are happening just at the same time.
How are the vaccines being tested?
Right now, several different COVID vaccines are in testing. Each go through multiple clinical trials with up to thousands of volunteers.
How do vaccines get approved?
Not all COVID vaccine versions will make it to the final stages of testing and approval. Produced vaccines that do not pass clinical trials will be destroyed. But for those that do pass, a team of medical experts will examine test results and possible side effects. If the vaccine is effective and safe, it gets approved and gets to you. Go to covidvaccinewa.org to learn more. A message from the state of Washington.
Good evening and welcome to the Call to Conscience Museum Black History Month, a night at the museum. Another special one for you. We have been celebrating Black History Month all month long here at the Call to Conscience Black History Month Museum. We've been open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. On February 3rd, we celebrated the 40th anniversary of Ezel's famous chicken. Yes. Quite the story there. They have an installation here. Really quickly, it took them 6 years to get their first loan. 40 years later, they have 17 stores, including one in Dubai as well. Wow. And on February 10th, we did our first night at the museum. We celebrated the Total Experience Gospel Choir. Yeah. And for the first time, I think, since Patronell passed, they performed in this very theater in the back. It was amazing, incredible. 15 amazing, incredible voices. Tim Davis was on the drum. Uwar Runga played the trumpet. We filmed everything and audio taped everything, and we're going to be playing that back for you as well. On the 15th of February, we celebrated the anniversary of Nasty Mix Records, which is, if you don't know who Nasty Mix Records is. Yeah. No. And Sir Mix-a-Lot. And he was here, and they have an installation. Yeah, maybe you know Nasty Mix, but if I say Mix-a-Lot, you know, Mix-a-Lot. And tonight, we are excited and happy for this night at the museum. We have our special guest. I know he doesn't necessarily, when I call him a superhero, but a superhero. He is. Mr. Elmer Dixon is here joining us. Co-founder of the Seattle chapter of the Black Panther Party. Yes. And when I have youth in here, as we've had for the tour, who are high school, 17, 18 years old, and I tell them the founders of this movement, the Seattle Black Panther Party, were 17, 18 years old. You should see their heads explode. And then also, director, executive producer, all of the of the documentary film that we are going to show tonight, a special clip together. Mr. Rick Dupree. Thank you. I also got to add a shout in for Rick. Rick also does play-by-play for our sports broadcasts, and well, we've talked about this. So you'll be doing the WIA 3A championship
next Saturday.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know. I'll put it on the calendar.
So yeah, just excited to be here and celebrating Black History Month. The Seattle Black Panther Party exhibit, as I was telling Mr. Dixon, is one that garners attention when you take this tour. There was, and maybe continues to be, disinformation about the Black Panther Party. And for those who are unfamiliar with the impact of the Seattle chapter of the Black Panther Party, what they have done has been highly recognized, not only in this community, but nationally as well, and even internationally. So we're going to talk about some of those things. Today you're going to see the film, or a screening of the film. And Yeah. So I'm going to kind of get out of the way.
And then we'll sign books.
Oh, and the book signing. Well, for those of you who are watching, those of you who are here, you know. But thank you, Mr. Dixon. For those of you who are watching, if you'd like to come down, 4916 Rainier Avenue South, following the film, which we're not going to show, there will be the book signing as well. Can I get a copy of the book? Somebody? So we're live, but we're good. We're informal.
Go, sir.
Daniel, can you? This is the book, Die Standing, from Black Panther Revolutionary to Global Diversity Consultant, Mr. Elmer Dixon. And we'll be signing books, or Mr. Dixon will be signing books immediately following the film. So if you want to come down once the interview is over, by the time that you get here, you'll be able to get your book and get it signed. All right. So I'm going to kind of get out of the way here, other than a few preliminary things. We're going to see the film, Mr. Dixon. I have to start with you. When you think about the impact that you have had, not just locally, but locally, you see how proud we are of you, but nationally and internationally, if you were to go back to 17-year-old Elmer Dixon, what would you tell him as he was starting this journey?
What Huey told us when Aaron first met Huey was never turn your back on a pig. You know, I don't know what I would tell myself, you know, because we lived in the moment. We were fearless. We never thought that we would live past the age. If I was 17 at the time, never thought I would see my 21st birthday, because we had committed to a revolutionary struggle that got us named the #1 threat to the internal security of the United States by one of the chief architects of assassination, J. Edgar Hoover, because we dared to stand up against one of the biggest bullies in history. And so keep your head on a swivel, and stay the course, because it was a long and difficult struggle path, but we stayed on that path. And in terms of, you said the impact that I have, we were an organization, we were a revolutionary movement. So any of the accomplishments that we have made, or any of the impacts that we've had, was a collective impact. It's not one single member of the Black Panther Party here nationwide, but we were as an organization, because we moved as one. And the impacts that we had, I was watching Good Morning America earlier this week, I think it was, and they were announcing this new therapy, gene therapy, for sickle cell anemia. And they had a couple of patients that were test patients. The sister that took the first leap of faith and went through the test program, and it worked with no side effects. And then a young brother followed her, and they both are clean of disease. It's a cure for a disease that primarily affects Black people. And the thing that, of course, that was left out of the story, and you mentioned that, the misinformation or no information, is that it was because of the efforts of the Black Panther Party that people became aware of sickle cell anemia in the first place. Mm-hmm. We were testing thousands of people across the country. We went into prisons here in the state of Washington and tested inmates. We had sisters and brothers out on the street in lab jackets, puncturing little holes in hands, and little babies, and testing them to see if they had the trait or the disease, because it's very dangerous if you have or carry the trait, because you could pass it on to your offspring. And so we wanted to raise the consciousness And we, as I said, this was during the late 60s, early 70s, and it was because of the efforts of the Black Panther Party that the National Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation was created in the first place, because we raised that awareness.
Yeah,
and so here today, some 50 plus years later, here's a cure to a disease that primarily affects Black people. And before we brought that awareness to the forefront, nobody even paid attention to it. So that's the kind of broad impact that our efforts had, was to educate the masses, if you will, to not only the conditions that we lived in, but also the fact that we could do something about it, and we didn't have to take it, that we could stand up and be counted as men and women.
Again, the book, Die Standing, from Black Panther Revolutionary to Global Diversity Consultant. Why right now? What?
Because the time is now. Our history, the legacy of the Black Panther Party has always been under attack from the very beginning. The misrepresentation and misinformation has continued. People have just begun to realize over the last 6 or 7 years, after we had our 50th anniversary, we began to be embraced. I guess they figured, well, 50 years later, they're not going to shoot me. And so they began to embrace us, on a national level. But I will tell you that on a global level, we have always been valued by people around the globe and around the world. I was telling my buddy Kimberly, who's back there somewhere, this story. I was trying to tell her this story, that when I was speaking in the UK a couple of years ago in Birmingham, UK, I was on a tour there. I'd been in Ireland, went to Birmingham. My book wasn't out yet. That was 2 years ago. And I had this, standing room only house of students and people. And the crowd was black, white. And after the speech, two brothers, along with other people, came down to say hello or get an autograph or whatever. Two brothers brought their mother down. And they told me that their mother had fought with Stephen Biko in South Africa, but she didn't like to talk about it. She was, she was shy about that. And so when I met her, I told her she didn't need to hide that. She needed to be proud of that and let people know that she was part of this very important movement in South Africa. And she said to me that the reason why Stephen Biko fought in the first place was because of the Black Panther Party. Now you think about that impact and the recognition that we had, 10, 15,000 miles away. We had chapters in Sydney, Australia, and in the Polynesian Panthers in New Zealand, chapter in London, England, and support groups in Denmark, Sweden, and Spain. And in 2010, I was headed over to speak at a conference as a keynote up in northern France, up in Lille, France. And after I spoke, a couple of women from the Netherlands approached me and asked me if I would please come to Amsterdam and speak to kids there about the Black Panther Party. And I said, sure, I would. She said the reason why they wanted me to come was because that kids in school, she said, in the Netherlands, learn about the Black Panther Party. Now, the irony of that is that just before I left for that trip, a young woman, Karen Bodemer, who was a kid at the time, who used to babysit Panther kids back in 68, 69, she, as an adult now, had invited me to speak to her class at the Seattle Art Institute, Seattle Art Academy. And of course, I said I would come and speak to her class, and she invited me, and I came down. I'd never been there, so she sent two students of her students out to greet me at the front door to show me the way back to the classroom, one of them black and one of them white. And so when I got there, they said, are you the Black Panther that's going to speak at in our class? And I said, yes, I'm one of the former Black Panthers, yes. And they said, well, what was the Black Panther Party? And the black student asked, were they like the black KKK? Now see, this is deliberate. This is deliberate. The misinformation has been consistent and constant. You know, even when we pop up in movies, you know, they distort who we were. Gomer, it was that Forrest Gump. You know, we were just mindless, you know, black militants saying "power to the people," you know, with no ideology. And the fact when Chairman Bobby came to Seattle, I want to point that young woman sitting there in the seat there. Her brother was on our central committee, Bobby Hardin, and she was in the party briefly. She was a party member, yes. And so in that living room, when Chairman Bobby was laying down the rules of the Black Panther Party, he told us we needed two things. One, he said you need to read twice a day, 2 hours a day, and attend PE classes, that's political education classes, twice a week. And he said, because you have to prepare your minds, you have to be able to articulate revolution and understand, you know, the root and the basis of how you build a revolutionary movement. So we were articulate, the sisters and the brothers. And I want to point out that 65% of the members of the ship of the Black Panther Party were women. You know, people don't know that fact. And the second thing he said we needed was 2 weapons and 1,000 rounds of ammunition, because he said they're coming for you. Anytime you stand up against one of the biggest bullies in history, they're going to come after you, which they did. But I say that because in the movies, we're just portrayed as these, you know, dumb, angry militants with no political ideology, which is totally opposite of the truth. The other one that irritates me even more is in the movie The Butler. And everybody thinks, oh, it's such a great movie, D. Daniels, The Butler. And, you know, there's a scene in there, his son in real life was a member of the Black Panther Party. And there's a scene in there where he's sitting at the dinner table with his girlfriend who was in the party. You know, she's got her afro on, and they're mere caricatures. Because when the father, the butler, asked her a question, it's like she can't really answer it, or really couldn't explain why we had a children's free breakfast program, which is totally opposite of what a sister would have done or any member of the party. So it's like we're caricatures. But there's a scene where he's leaving the party, the son, and he says, I didn't sign up to kill people. You know, see, that's the image that they wanted to project. And even in that movie, The Butler, as late as it was when it came out, was it 2010 or I don't remember the year it came out. That's the image, that's the message that they were putting in the minds of people, that we were killers and murderers. When the reality is that J. Edgar Hoover and his goons and Richard Nixon, you know, and the U.S. government, they have always been the killers and the murderers, which is why this revolutionary movement of the Black Panther Party stood up in the first place, because we were not going to stand for it any longer. And we stood on the shoulders of revolutionaries that came before us, you know, like Harriet Tubman, Denmark Vesey, John Brown, who stood up against, you know, racism and brutality with a gun in their hands, saying that they weren't going to, you know, I don't know if people know Harriet's story, you know, when she got out, the hell that she had to go through to create this underground railroad, you know, in thickets, you know, in the deep of night when she had no food, had no, you know, nothing to keep her warm. She slept, you know, under trees. And then when she finally made it to freedom and gone through all that hell to get away from the oppressor, what did she do? She went back. She went back and brought hundreds of slaves out. But not only that, she formed one of the first armed militias and went back and attacked the Confederacy. That's a revolutionary. She picked up the gun. So we were standing on the shoulders of these revolutionaries when we said no more. That's the legacy of the Black Panther Party.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world, a night at the museum right here in Columbia City, 4916. For this entire month, the theater, Columbia City Theater, is called the Call to Conscience Black History Month Museum. We have 15 installations from different movements, legacies, businesses, individuals in our community. The main reason that we do this, and I tell this to people, and I think it's becoming more relevant this year because of what we're seeing politically, is that if we don't write and record our history, someone will do it for us. Even if we write our own history, someone will change that history. And so this is an opportunity to hear the truth from the individual who wrote the story and individuals who wrote the story, which brings me to this, Mr. Dupree. The film that you're making is a documentary on the Seattle Black Panther Party.
Correct.
What inspired you to take, it's been a couple years now that you've been working on this.
Going on 4.
Obviously a passion, obviously a labor of love. Of all the things that you could have done with your time and with your passion, why did you choose to do a documentary on the Seattle Black Panther Party?
I mean, for the last 5-10 minutes, you heard it. We heard from Elmer Dixon and what they experienced, what they stood for. And, you know, me being a native Seattleite, knew a little bit about the Seattle Black Panthers and the Black Panther Party. But again, I didn't know the story. And Tony, you said it a moment ago, we have to tell our stories. And so this was an effort, is an effort to create an opportunity for the Black Panther comrades, primarily those from the Seattle chapter, to tell their story. And in a day and age when there are efforts to erase our history, to change our history, to say it wasn't what it was, we have to tell our stories. So I consider myself always a storyteller, but first-time filmmaker. And, you know, it was back in May of 2020, Elmer spoke to a group of students. I can't remember if your daughter was a part of it, maybe just graduated at Seattle Academy, the Black Student Union, and spoke for probably over an hour. And it was compelling. I mean, the kids, it was on Zoom. We had probably 50, 60, you know, kids from different schools, different private independent schools. And as soon as we were done, hit in on that Zoom meeting, I called Elmer and said, man, we need to do a documentary. And this is when you know it's right. Without hesitation, he said, let's do it. And he put trust in me and my son, Marcus, and we got with his brother, Aaron. And so the 4 of us are producing this, and it is to tell the true story of the Seattle Black Panthers and the Black Panther Party overall. And so it's a film that we're doing without narration. It's the voices of the comrades, and we want the viewers to hear from them. And again, one of the things we are looking at is the 10-point program, for example, is having that kind of carry the movie throughout the movie, if you will, because we want, again, people to understand what the co-founders, Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton, what their motivation was. And it wasn't that they were going to go out and be terrorists. It was, hey, our people are being brutalized, and we're going to stand up and say no more. And Aaron says something, and you'll see it in the little sampler that we're going to share tonight. He said, you know, Stokely Carmichael and H. Rhett Brown, others were going around. This was what, 1967, and they were sharing this, talking about this new term. He said that we had never heard, and that was Black Power. So, and Elmer and I were talking about this earlier today. You know, as Black people, we still there's been so much messaging that we don't love ourselves, and this is an era when, you know, our brothers and sisters were starting to wear their hair out, and naturally as it is. And we were proud of who we were, and we still need this today. And that's what this story is about. We hope that anyone watching it, I know for me making it, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of what they have done, what they stand for. And it's made me more proud to be a Black man. So again, I know it's a little bit of rambling, but it is part of our history. It's American history that needs to be told. It needs to be documented so that 50, 100, 200 years, people will see it. And it's from the mouths of the people that lived it. It's not from somebody who said this or that or the other. It is from the mouths of the individuals that lived it, and they're telling why they became revolutionaries and why they fought oppression.
So I'd like to get both of your feedback. Both of yours feedback. Is it both of yours feedback or both of your feedback?
Where's your wife at?
So she don't listen. What am I gonna do with it?
So what I get to do here 6 days a week is watch people come into this exhibit from all kinds of backgrounds, from all over the place, from many different graphics, from many age groups, and when they step into this exhibit, there is still an unawareness to the Black Panther Party in general, and even less of an understanding of the Seattle Black Panther Party. Now, I had some folks, they came from Baltimore, Maryland. They weren't coming just to come here, but when they were planning to come here, they said, oh, when we get to Seattle, we're going to go see this exhibit. And they were really happy to get here when they got here. And that's a different history. I've often said, in my opinion, Seattle's not Atlanta, it's not Chicago, it's not New York. What we have done over here, though, is unique in the way that we have dealt with our issues. And so from Baltimore, them coming from a place where, we didn't have slave auction blocks, but we have done a lot in the time that we've been here. And they were fascinated to hear about the Seattle chapter of the Black Panther Party. So from both of you, your perspectives, when I tell you, there are people here from Seattle who come and they're our age, and they, yes, I know, of course, I know Aaron. I went to school with Elmer. Elmer was my best friend, and Elmer, and they know who you are. But outside of that, there are a lot of folks that come here. Now, when they leave, they're really happy what they've learned. How does that make you feel when I'm just saying what I just said? I'd love to be able to say everyone's familiar, but of course, then again, that's the reason that we're doing this. But here it is, 2024, and you have a number of people who are older and younger who don't know. They're happy when they find out, but they don't know. So I'm asking you this question: do you ever feel like your work, your efforts were for naught?
No, I don't feel like they're for naught ever, because I know and see too many people who experienced, what we provided in the community. The work that we did in the community is forever lasting. I walk down the street or go out to the UW, and I have people in their 50s come up to me and said, I ate in your breakfast program. If it wasn't for the breakfast program, I wouldn't be here at the university. So that's a constant. The other thing that's a constant is the fact that Seattle, of course, we were the first chapter outside of the state of California, the longest running cadre of the Black Panther Party. And our free medical clinic is the only existing clinic still in operation today after 54 years. And so there are people that go into that clinic, the Carolyn Downs Family Medical Center, and they see up on the wall, if they read the signage, they know that clinic was started by the Black Panther Party. So our legacy is alive and well. Just people don't take the time to look and to learn. But there's a bigger picture coming, because the pop-up museum you see upstairs is just a small piece of what's about to happen. 6 years ago, at our 50th anniversary at Langston Hughes, which it was at Langston Hughes in Washington Hall, we had an exhibit running at NAMM, and it ran they had to hold it over because it was so popular. And some of the items that are upstairs were in there, but we had broader items that were in there, and it won a national award. It brought recognition to NAMM. And it was shortly after that, Aaron and I kind of had this thought process at the same time, that we needed to have a museum of our own. And so for the last couple of years, we've been in the process of establishing the first of its kind Revolutionary Black Panther Interpretive Museum and Research Center that will go on long lasting, but that will bring people to understand not only the revolutionary movement of the Black Panther Party, because we'll feature all 60 chapters across the country, but also of other revolutionary movements that have gone to the wayside that people aren't aware of. And for young people to be able to inspire themselves and study. And as I say this, I see one of the young Panther proteges back there in the back, Alani Seals, right there. Yep. Wave your hand, Alani. She is a Panther protege right there, a revolutionary. And it's young people that we want to inspire to pick up where we left off. You know, we were asked a question last night in Portland. We were doing an event down there similar to this. And one of the people asked if there will ever be another Black Panther Party. Aaron answered the first and said, no, there will not be, because our era was then. And while that is true, that doesn't mean that the next torch is not ready to be picked up and carried on to the next level. It's our intent to make sure that these new revolutionaries and freedom fighters learn from the successes and the mistakes that we made, so that they can build their own movement and challenge, the system as it continues to exploit, build a super underclass, ignores the global warming, or have ignored it up to now. They're trying to last ditch effort to try to save the planet. They've got a lot of stuff to stand up and fight for, so that they and their offspring can live full lives. And so there's a lot of work to be done. No, there will not be another Black Panther Party, because it was a unique time. The time and place was then. And there are a few organizations that crop up that call themselves Black Panther parties, but they're not who we were. But I still applaud their effort to try to do something in the community. But a new movement will emerge, and new leaders will emerge, and are already emerging. And so maybe there won't be another Black Panther Party, but there'll be something different.
And so essentially the same question for you, Mr. Dupree, except from your perspective, when you heard what I just said, as you've been making this movie over the course of 4 years, are you feeling additional accountability, responsibility? Because what you're about to share and what you would like to share is important, and you're going to be making a statement that will live historically.
Yeah.
Or do you just say, you know what, I'm just keeping my head down and doing what I'm trying to do, and I can't let societal times impact and affect my thought process I'm going through? And we both know this is not the same project you initially were talking to me about when you were saying, hey, this is what I'm about to embark on. So I just like to get your feedback on it.
Yeah, I think as we look at the fact that there is so much misinformation, that there is certainly the pressure that you feel, that you want to make sure this is an accurate telling of what the experience was, and it is critical that it's done. One of my mentors, he used to always say, and I will say this about this film. We got all the elements. We just have to make sure we don't mess it up. All right. So that's our goal, is to and allow the story to be told. And again, I go back to this is a documentation of history that has to be done. It's got to be done so that it will dispel the rumors and all of the things that were out there about the Black Panthers. So do I feel pressure? Yeah, to a certain degree, but the sky is a lot bigger than me, and
there they go again.
And he yields a gun, but I mean, there's a level of accountability. This is, we're doing this together, and that's what's beautiful about this, is that we've come together. There's a level of trust. and camaraderie that has been built between Aaron, Elmer, myself, my son Marcus, as we're pulling this together. And I would also say, kind of piggybacking on a little bit of what Elmer said, a couple of things I want to point out. One is that you talked about at 17, entering into this movement. And he said, I didn't really expect to live past 21. And I want everyone in here to think about that for a minute. And those of you listening and what have you, is that I don't think most of us know what it's like to put our lives on the line for something bigger than ourselves. This man does. And the Black Panthers do. That's what they did. They know what that's like. And I look at the freedoms that I have, and the freedoms that my son and my grandchildren have. And it's because of men and women like Elmer, like Aaron, the Black Panther comrades, what they sacrificed. And there are many that paid the price of giving their lives for what they believed in. And so that's something I think is really important to point out. And then the other thing is that the legacy is incredible. Elmer talked about Alani back there, but we got Chef Tarek here, who runs a Feed the People program, inspired to a certain degree by the Black Panthers. We've got individuals, like that are doing things. We've got our good friend Timbo from Canada, who is doing just some incredible work. And again, young people, but I mean, that's inspiring, that these young individuals are doing, they're revolutionaries. And both Aaron and Elmer, say this in the film, they talk about what a revolutionary is. And it's not like anything else, that this is who you become. And you hate oppression, and you fight against oppression. And it's not just oppressed Black people. And yeah, we care about our own, but they stood up or stood against oppression of all people. That's not a message that the media has shared about the Black Panthers. Elmer talked about that they had to read 2 hours a day. They were educated. These were sharp brothers and sisters. They knew the law. They knew, and what is more terrifying to white America than Black men and women with guns holding you accountable? Come on. I mean, but that's what they did. So for me, I'm inspired by this, Tony. I have become more of a activist, using my voice more, being around, them. And that's what it is. That's their legacy, is that they are, whether you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 50s, 60s, this movement has inspired so many people. And I know without this movement, I don't think I would be inspired the way I am at the age I am, saying, I'm looking at shifting my career and what I want to do. And this is a big piece of it.
I just need to add one little story here to this, in terms of impact and, why it's time, and important time now. And I speak to a lot of audiences across the globe, of all ages. But the age group that gives me the most energy and most excitement are the kids between first and fifth grade. Yeah. And I go into these elementary schools. I went into your grandson's school a few years back, and you should see these kids. A few years ago, and I'll be in 3 elementary schools over the next week, and they're spread across the floor. They see me coming in, they're by age group, and they're cheering, and get me to sign their hands, their jackets, and but what happens when I go to meet with them, I don't talk to them like I'm talking to adults, like I'm talking to you today. I have their teachers first educate them about the Black Panther Party, because the information is out there if you look for it. And so by the time I come in, they're already primed and they're asking me questions. And so I was asked to go to, the first one I went to was Spirit Ridge Elementary. I don't know if you know where that is. It's across the water in Bellevue. It's a white elementary school. And so they asked me to come out. And when I walk into the school, there were posters I started seeing on the walls in different places that said Panther Principles. I said, shit. And then I realized that the Panther was their mascot. I said, okay, settle down. Don't get too excited. Don't get too excited. So I get into the classroom, and all these second graders are sitting on the floor. And the teacher comes and knocks on the door, and she says, can I bring my kids in? I said, come on. He brought another 30 kids in, about 50, 60 kids all across the floor. And so we began. And the first little kid that asked the questions, hands shot up, little white kid, blonde, blue-eyed, about 8 years old. And without any more energy that he could muster up in his little body, he said, what was it like being on the police alert patrol? Just blew me away that this kid, 8-year-old kid in Bellevue, knew the importance of us patrolling the police with a shotgun and a law book to make sure that they were not murdering people in the street. This was an 8-year-old kid. I always tell the kids that most cops are good cops. You know, I don't go in there trashing the police. I tell them most cops are good cops. I said, you know, but there's always bad apples in the bunch, and we seem to get more of them in our community than in other communities, you know. And so he understood that, and those kids understand this. And so when you look into the eyes of a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they're looking with, you know, just kind of utter awe and respect about who we were, because they learned the truth early. They learned it early. See, no one will ever be able to tell them different, because other comrades like myself were out there telling this story to these little ones and inspiring their minds to be open. And I always tell the kids, regardless of whether it's an elementary school, a middle school, a high school, I always tell them in front of their teachers, I tell them, don't trust everything your teachers tell you. Get a book called Lies My Teachers Told Me. And their teachers kind of nod, yep, get that book. They know it tells the truth. And I try to exhort them to make sure that they seek truth. They just don't take the first thing that someone tells them. Seek the truth. And you'll find out, because the truth will, as we all know, will set you free. So it's important that we continue this information sharing to as many as we can. But I'll tell you, in the eyes of those little kids, I spent another half hour before I could get out of that classroom, because they all wanted an autograph. They lined up, all of them, because they respect. I just wonder how their parents felt when they got home in Bellevue. I said, I got an autograph from a Black Panther. I wonder what their parents thought, but those kids were excited. So, right on.
I'm going to take some questions for you. Kimberly, would you mind coming up here and grabbing the microphone? And so I'm going to take some questions for the audience. This is what I call killing time, for you to think about what you want to ask before I put the microphone in your face. So if there is a question that you would like to ask of one of these gentlemen, feel free to ask the question. I want to say, they didn't say this, nobody. I'm saying I'm looking for questions, not statements. That's why they're here. But if you really feel like you need to make a statement, I overstand. You know what I mean? It's, you want to say what you know and what you don't know. But I'm looking for questions. So just say your name and then ask your question. And I see you raised your hand first.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Sharda. It's been really great being here at this museum and also hearing from both of you. Super inspirational and really nice. My question is, I was really wondering, like, what's your take on social media and its impact on revolution these days?
Wow. Yeah, that's a tough question.
Go straight to the
social media's got a double-edged sword, as you know. You know, it depends on who's typing the message in, because people can go way over here and it's the wrong direction, or they can go way over here. I think we have to be wary of social media and its use and how we use it to ignite movements, but without stretching the truth, because you're going to get it from both sides. We've seen what the chief prognosticator of violence and evil is doing with social media. Donald J himself, he's even created his own channel, so that he's got millions of people that follow him. So it's a double-edged sword. This guy has 92 indictments against him, and yet he's somewhere around that 92 indictments. He was just ordered today to pay $54 million for ripping off the state of New York. And was it 54 million or 350 million, something like 354 million. He's trying to avoid paying it, because he's claimed he's a billionaire. Well, why don't you pay it? But see, that's the power of social media. It can be used, in a variety of ways. So if we're using it ourselves, we have to be wary of that. We used to never trust the press, when we were Panthers, because they would always, if we did an interview, they would always twist the story and pick out the pieces that they wanted people to hear and twist it. And so I got good at making sure that whatever I gave them was a sound bite and nothing else. You take this sound bite, because they could twist it. Well, social media is the same way, so we have to be aware of that. With the age of AI, it's no telling, what might come out of my mouth that I'm not even aware that I said it because of AI. So we're in a very dangerous place with social media and AI. Yeah.
Anybody else have a question right here?
My name is Keisha Garrison with Hey Black Seattle. I'll tell you about it in a minute. My question is around the diversity consulting chapter of your life.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a corporate runway at a 20-year corporate. I gave myself the job to create community resources and cultural connection for Black folks. As a person who's got revolutionary roots, and you're now in the spaces where you're talking to corporate folks and corporate leaders, I'm curious what you think is possible in that space. I got to a place of disillusionment with it and thinking that there's individual impact that can be had, but on an institutional level, the spaces often build things that harm our people. So I'm curious how that chapter of your life, like what the goals and your aims feel like and look like now.
And I don't know how long you think I've been doing this. Our company's 38 years old, and our content is very tight, very tight. It's received recognition and awards from ASTD, Chicago United, other organizations as well. It's because it's tight. There have been a lot of what I call, over the years, fly-by-nights that have gotten into this business and have given it a bad name, quite frankly. In fact, I've had a number of clients where over the years that have called us in to clean up the mess that that others have left behind. So just because you carry the title of a diversity consultant doesn't mean you're doing the work properly. We've always thought that we've done it in the right way. One of the one of our early clients was U.S. Gypsum. U.S. Gypsum, they make wallboard. If you've ever heard the name Sheetrock, that's their brand name. They're one of the largest producers of wallboard in the world. When I first met with the COO in 1997, and he wanted us to explore how we would work with their company. And he said the thing that hooked him was, he asked me, and I remember the interview, I remember sitting in his office in Chicago. He said, "Elmer, is it always about training?" I said, "No, it's not always about training." I said, "But if you expect your managers and your directors to change behavior, you better give them new information." And so that launched us on this path. And I'll try to make this answer succinct if I can. When we first started working with them, the CEO and his 30 direct reports, that was his leadership team, 30 people. Of them, and this was at the turn of the millennia. This was 98 when we first took them away for this 2-day retreat. Of those 30 people, how many do you think were women? 0. How many do you think were people of color? 0. So they were embarking on a journey from the very beginning, and we took them through several stages along the way. We had a 12-year relationship with them, About a quarter of the way, about a third of the way through the process, they began to realize what was going on. They shook up that all those white men, and they shrunk it down to 18, a third of whom at that point were women and people of color. And so they began to steer the ship as we helped them build business case and best practices, and trained in various parts of their organization, coaching, preparing them, to lead. And so when we pulled away from them in 2010, they were driving the ship. 7 years later, in 2017, they got an award from Chicago United for having the best overall diversity and inclusion program in Chicagoland. The best, number one. And that was 20 years after the day we started working with them. 20 years. So the transition was a long process. See, a lot of companies that want to hire us and hire others think it's, a check thing, a check mark. One thing and you're done. Nah, it don't work like that. It's a process over years. I'll tell you an example of another client, PepsiCo and PepsiCo International. We trained 65,000 managers for them in 10 countries on 5 different continents. And when I first started working with them, me and the then president of our company, we were doing training at their headquarters in Purchase, New York, upstate New York. And this first training was in a building they called the White House. We loved it. Literally, it's the White House, and they called it the White House. And when we were in those first few days, the then CEO and president, Steve Reineman, had a woman in that classroom with us who he was grooming. And after she went through our program, she became the first woman of color to lead a Fortune 100 company. That woman's name was Indra Anui. She's been on the cover of Forbes magazine. That came right out of our training program. So can we make a difference? If they're willing to go the journey. See, if they want to do the fly by night and we respond to our clients and give them what they want, but we tell them here's what it's going to take. And there's a few of them that take that journey. So it's the same commitment. See, I did a keynote yesterday before I flew down to Portland with an organization called SEATAR, which I'm the president of, SEATAR US. SEATAR stands for Society for Intercultural Education, Training, and Research. And when I gave the keynote, I talked about the need for these interculturalists to have the passion to do the work. And I said, you're going to get your passion from somewhere. But I told them a brief piece of my story, and the journey through becoming a revolutionary at 17 years old, and having 2 bodyguards when I was 17 years old, and having threats against my brother and I's lives and assassination attempts. But we weren't afraid. We didn't care that they were trying to kill us because we were ready to die. But that was the passion that members of the Black Panther Party had. I took that passion and brought it with me into this company. That's why we've been around for 38 years.
We're going to take one more question.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go watch this film. So if you're watching right now and you're going, oh, wait a minute, man, I need to get there. You have a few minutes to come down here and you can watch this 30-minute kind of director's cut, right, Rick?
It's what we're calling a sampler. What it is, a very rough cut. We just pulled some things together to give people a sense of what the film will be. It's not the film. We are moving into post-production. The goal is to do a full length. When I say full length, 75 to 80 minutes is the goal. We don't really want to go much over that. But tonight, what you all will see is a real rough cut that's going to a sampling of the movie, just so you get an idea of the story. We've carried a lot of the interviews a lot longer than we'll carry them in the actual movie, but it'll give you a really good sense of the Seattle chapter.
Okay, and but you do have time, because we're not going to air that over the stream, but you do have time to come down here, because immediately following about 30 minutes, Rick, we are going to have a book signing, and you'll be able to pick up a copy of this book. and Mr. Elmer Dixon is here, and you'll be able to get your book signed. All right. So we're gonna take one more question.
My name is Nova High School as a sophomore. For some young person wanting to be part of a revolution, what should you do first, and what action should I aim to take first? Not thoughts, actions.
Train your mind. See, I think you have to prepare yourself for what it is that you want to do. See, that's when the very first thing that Chairman Bobby told us. Now I'd already seen, and you'll hear this in the movie, little Bobby Hutton laying in a coffin, 17 years old, the same age as I was. It was at that moment I was ready to die for the people as this movement was building. But the very first thing he said that we needed was to read 2 hours a day so that we learned about revolutionary movements and the process that other revolutionaries took. You see, we had a 10-point platform and program. The 10-point program of the Black Panther Party. I want you to read that 10-point program. You can find it online. It's in my book. But I want you to read it because it was a roadmap for everything that we did. See, we took direct action. You're going to take direct action. So you need a platform and a program, what it is you're about, what you believe. Point number 7 of the 10-point program says that we want an immediate end to the police brutality and murder of Black people. So what did we do? Right away, the very first program of the Black Panther Party was the Police Alert Patrol. We patrolled the streets right here in Seattle, chased cops out of our neighborhood if we thought that they were going to do harm to a person. That's why they put out a radio dispatch on their radios back then, that whenever they stopped one of us, me, my brother, Bobby Harden, they said, consider armed and dangerous. Yes, they did. So you have to have a platform and a program. You have to know what it is you're about. Educate yourself, young brother. All right.
Well, I'm not gonna not let you ask a question if you have a question. So we're gonna take one more.
I just was wondering how the. Oh, I thought everybody knew me. No, I'm just playing. My name is Stanley Bascom. I am from here, from Seattle. I respect and honor this man greatly, and we talk at different times. But my question was, how is the film going to be distributed and that?
Looking at a couple of ways to distribute the film. We actually are in talks and discussions with a Black-owned firm down in Atlanta called Bespoke Media Marketing, and possibly we'll look at the film festival circuit. They also have distribution, and they have a couple streaming partners they think might be interested in it. We really started this as a passion project, and one that we just said, you know, the truth's got to be told, but it has gained a lot of momentum. So that is yet to be determined, but likely will be on some form of film festival circuit, and leading into potentially, yeah, we'll get information. So right now we are hoping, again, I'm learning as an independent filmmaker, you know, first it was, hey, coming in 2022, and then coming to 2023, you know. We have raised about 75% of our overall budget. We still need, so our overall budget is $300,000, and we've raised about 75% of that. So we still need to raise about another 25%. We are looking to finish the film summer, fall at the latest. And you know, we got to raise that another 75 or so thousand to finish it. That will include rights fees. You'd be amazed at the rights fees for archival footage, images, music. There's music of the era that we want, and that may be prohibitive. We may not be able to use some of those. We may have to go away from, you know, some of the songs of the era that we want to use. We'll see. But more information will definitely be out. And this is home. We did a screening at the 2023 Seattle Black Film Festival at Langston. We would love to kind of premiere it there, because I mean, just from, you know, where the Seattle Black Panthers were, at Langston just makes sense. And so there'll be opportunities here in Seattle regardless. And then we hope that it serves as an educational film that is in libraries, in schools, universities, that is, again, telling this true story. Thanks for the question. Appreciate it, Mr. Bassel.
Okay.
Always good to see you, brother.
We here in this audience are about to go into the theater and watch this film, immediately followed by the book signing, which will be right back out here. I don't know if we're gonna come back on and air that or not. I mean, we can, but it'll be signing books. So for those of you who are listening and watching, we appreciate you. I'm going to give these gentlemen an opportunity for final words before we go back into that theater. So they will share their final thoughts with you as well. But thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. From my perspective, gentlemen, not only is this so cool because of the relationship that I have with both of you, and you know, Rick and I were on the #1 sports talk show in the area when we did a Black History Month event talk show, and they basically wanted to take us off the air because of what we did. But to have somebody, you know, that you could look at and say, well, man, we got one chance. Do we want a second chance, or do we want to do what we want to do with the chance that we have?
And that's what we did.
And that's what we did. They never let us do it again. and what Rick said about Elmer, you know, is correct. I knew of him. I don't think he knew of me, but I remember saying, will you come down to Tacoma, the Museum of Glass, and tell everybody about the Seattle Black Panther Party? Didn't really know. I knew him. I don't know how much to do about me, but yes, him and his brother Elmer both took their time, come down, and they didn't just come. They brought materials, when I was preparing to do what I thought was a daunting task of, you know, who am I to start a museum? You know what I mean? And say, I have some things that I would like to have shared with our community. The first person I called was Elmer Dixon. And he said the same thing to me, Rick, that he said to you. And you know, let's do it. It's so this is authentic.
Where's your wife at?
Come on.
And so it's you know, in addition to the excitement of it being an incredible opportunity to hear again from the person, the group, the movement, the truth. It's just a special privilege for me to be here with both of you gentlemen. This basically journey is taking us. And so I'd like to give both of you, Rick, and I'll start with you, an opportunity for final words before we go see the film. Maybe for the last time that tonight, because but folks can still come down and do the book signing, all of you under here, but last words that you'd like to share with our audience.
Yeah, I mean, just real quickly to Keisha's question and others, I think that we all need to realize we have a voice. And we're in a day and age where with what happened, thought I would see a Black president. And unfortunately, it's kind of fizzled out to a certain degree and the expectations we had. But what I realize is that there's more awareness and we all have a voice, whether we're wherever we work. And that's scary sometimes to use your voice, but we have a perspective that needs to be heard. And I'll give you a quick example. ESPN several years ago did a little bit on the NFL draft. And they had all of these white men in the audience, and they had these little, you know, signs with mainly Black men's faces on them. And it was like an auction. And I sat there and watched that, and I thought to myself, how in the world did that get greenlit to be able to go on the air. But the way it did is because they didn't have anybody in that boardroom. They didn't have anybody in that planning room that had a different perspective. So we have, and again, at the age I'm at now, which is over 60, learning now to use my voice even more. I say that to all of you, encourage you. I don't care if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you've got a voice, you've got a unique perspective. And sometimes there's a price to pay, but we're in an era and a day and age where we have to use our voice.
Thank you, Mr. Dupree. Mr. Dixon, anything that you would like to say as final words to our audience listening, watching and listening right now?
The title of my book, Die Standing, comes from a quote by Emilio Zapata, who was a Mexican revolutionary who said that he would rather die standing, fighting, rather than live on his knees. And so you have the choice to always stand up. You know, if you're going to fight this thing, if you're going to live, you know, live with intentionality, you know, standing and fighting, but not living on our knees. All power to the people.
All right, we are about to go and go. Yeah, big round of applause. And go watch the sampling of the film right now. Appreciate your time. Come on down to the museum. We're here from 11 to 6 is the final tour. We'll be here every day except Monday until Thursday. Then everything gets shut down. That's it. That's all the time we have right now. It's me, your host, Tony B, saying, remember, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you cannot, you are probably right. I'm out. Peace.